Hi, just doing a quick video today on your thyroid function. So basically your thyroid gland is your a big hormone controller. It's the big butterfly gland that's in here, and it is the bearer of big problems sometimes for people if they have hyperthyroidism, which is where you have an overactive thyroid gland, or hypothyroidism, which when you have an underactive thyroid gland. So if it's underactive, in both you may be tired, you may feel fatigue, you may feel kind of depressed, you might feel a lot of other things. Usually they'll put you on some kind of thyroid um, um, drugs to help this. But there are also other people who would say that you should maybe take some iodine. I personally do take iodine to help um, with the function of my thyroid. My thyroid function is perfect. Back to my blood test. My thyroid function is very good. Now, there's two things you need to look for in your thyroid function. In Ireland, they don't check T3, which is the active form of thyroid. That ideally is what you would check. However, if there's two things they do check, which is the free T4, which is the thyroxine. And if the free T4 is high in your test results, if it's outside the range and it's too high, then you have hyperthyroidism, you have an overactive thyroid. If it's low, then you have hypo with an O thyroidism, and that's where it's underactive. But what you should also look at is the TSH. The TSH is the thyroid stimulating hormone. Now, this is released by the brain. If your thyroid gland is overactive or underactive, this will be released by the brain to stimulate it. This means if your TSH is low, on the low side or too low, that means that you do not have a need for it to be stimulated. So the thyroid is probably working properly. That's kind of what you could do to look at it if you don't have the T3 test done. So my free T4 is 8.8 picomoles per litre, and the range is 7.9 to 14.4. So mine's on the low end of that, which is fine. Doesn't matter where it is in the range. Well, obviously you don't want it to be too close to either end, but mine is fine. So my thyroid is working fine. And the TSH, actually this blood test was done before I started taking iodine. So it'd be interesting to see what will be the next time, but it was working perfectly anyway this time. So my TSH is also low, on the low side, but not very low. Mine is 0.83, and it's in international units per litre. And then you have 0.38 to 5.33 is the range. So my thyroid function is fine. So I would like to see though what it will be like now that I've started taking the iodine. I did feel that I am a little bit more, I'd say alert. Not that I wouldn't be too alert. I drink lots of coffee, so I'm definitely alert. But yeah, I thought I felt a little bit more alert, and I thought I slept better. But that it could be my imagination. You know, sometimes you change other things, or maybe you just had a good night's sleep. I don't know. But I am going to see how it goes anyway. I definitely I do feel like I feel a little bit better on it. Not that I didn't feel well before I did, but I definitely feel like I did. So that's something to look at. I don't think it's funny. When I went to get the iodine, I first went to the pharmacist and they were like, nobody takes iodine. So you're going to get a lot of this, you know, especially on something like the ketogenic diet. There's so much kind of anti-keto, if you like, or you know, people just cannot believe that you can live without carbs, that you can live without refined carbs. They just cannot. It's so far from you know, that you can live without porridge or potatoes or whatever. It's just so far from their concept of living. So and it's not in any way extreme. So I went to the health food shop and they have it. It's fine, no problem. Loads of people seem to be. So you need to be kind of alert. And I looked up on iHerb, and they sell a lot of it, you know, and I see that people are, you know, they write in the comments that they're benefiting from this, that, and the other thing. So there are people out there who are kind of tuning into their own health, because it's definitely not something that the doctor is going to look at. They don't have time anyway. I mean, let's be fair. Doctors really are educated to diagnose and then to deal with the problem. They're not really, you know, we can blame them all we like, but they aren't dealing with prevention. So I want to kind of, you know, do a bit more prevention. So anyway, that is free T4, which is, it will actually be on your standard blood test. You won't have to ask for it extra. Do ask for it extra if you want, but it actually is one of the ones they do look at is thyroid function, and the TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, which is released by the brain in the event of your thyroid not working properly or overworking. It'll either not release any or it'll release too much. So go and check your thyroid levels, because if you're tired, or you're feeling depressed. Now, the one thing from the research I've done, I have looked at a lot of research, there seems to be a tenuous connection between gluten and the function of your thyroid gland. I've nothing against bread. I mean, I love bread so much, but I have no desire for bread most of the time nowadays. But I mean, I still would love bread, of course. Everybody loves bread. Who doesn't like a good sandwich, you know, or some good sourdough toasted cheap sandwich or something. So, but there does seem to be a link with, maybe that's with refined carbs, but there seems to be some kind of link showing up in the constant research that I'm doing. I'm quite a demon for research once I get going. There does seem to be this tenuous, or maybe not so tenuous connection with gluten or bread product, or, you know, with something like that. So just maybe watch those things if you have a poor thyroid function, or hyperthyroidism. Just maybe check that. If you have hyperthyroidism, you might also have Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune disease. So anyway, all right, talk to you soon. Bye.